Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today's December 21st, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite image. You can see the lightning associated with this storm off the coastline. It's been spreading some very heavy rainfall out there. We got active flooding going on, water spout warnings last night, even some tornado warnings. We've got a lot of stuff going on here, and we're going to dive into those details as we go through the video here this morning. This storm system will eventually click off to the east here slowly, and so San Diego, your turn has not yet come here. Some of the models are showing pretty interesting amounts coming up over the area, but it's going to kind of be hit and miss nature. And right now the models are favoring the higher terrain to the east a little bit here, but the deserts look like they're under the gun for some heavy precip as well as Arizona, and then eventually off into New Mexico. But you can kind of see how this is training back over some of the Santa Barbara, Ventura area. Oxnard has been hammered pretty hard overnight as well. Some additional precip coming into that area. Do not let your guard down. The flooding could still be continuing on in through the day today. Here's that day one excessive, still that moderate risk, kind of clipping western portions of the Los Angeles metro out across Santa Barbara out towards Point Conception here. This would be Los Angeles National Weather Service mentioning 3.1 inches of rain in an hour there for Oxnard Civic Center. Very impressive precipitation amounts. That is just some extremely heavy precip, and that is definitely going to be causing some flooding in those areas. And we've got special marine warnings for water spouts out there. This is going to be going on off and on probably through the day today. There was even a tornado warning there very early this morning also. So heads up when you see these heavy showers rolling in here. Be prepared for that. Some gusty winds as well. Day two excessive rainfall outlook. You can see as this storm moves off to the east here, we've got a slight risk across a lot of Southern California here, Southeast California on in through Arizona as we go on into the day tomorrow. This is day one thunderstorm outlook. Here's Los Angeles Metro, Southwest Arizona, and day two. This is a hail threat out there as well. Some interesting thunderstorm development will be moving across the area. Probably quite a bit of lightning with some of these storms as well as we go through the day tomorrow. This is day three as the storm continues to push off and starts to include New Mexico there in eastern Arizona. Now, taking a look at the European, this on the left here is 39,000 feet. The GFS on the right here is at 10,000 feet. And this is temperature, and this is wind speed. So you can see our powerful subtropical jet stream, most likely a product of El Nino, and the very cold air at 10,000 feet. So if you put it into motion, you kind of get an idea of what's going on here. And this subtropical jet is helping to keep the low moving a little bit here, because some of these cutoff lows can really start to sit still. But this one is going to be moving, but albeit slowly, off to the east over the next few days. But I just like kind of show you guys what's going on at the upper levels of the atmosphere. Again, at 10,000 feet on the right, temperature, and on the left here, you're looking at wind speed at 39,000 feet. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station to watch all this crazy weather roll in, you can't do much worse than this for the price, especially ultrasonic anemometer, all solar powered wireless. And yeah, it's got a lightning detection system with it as well. So I highly recommend this station. So go ahead and click on that link down below to save 10% off if you like. Now, looking at last night's run here as far as a thunderstorm potential here, 4-hour probability of thunder, the high resolution ensemble forecast. Let's go ahead and just scroll this through now. As we go through this morning, you can see a lot of this is right near the coastline here, but we get a little bit of an uptick here as we go through the very early morning hours into tomorrow morning. This moves across some of Southern California, Southeast California, and on in through Arizona as we go through the day tomorrow. So there is that lightning potential here, water spout potential, and maybe even a brief weak tornado moving across some of the coastal areas there as well. Now, taking a look at some rainfall totals in the last 72 hours, look at some of the central coastline here, up over 7, 8 inches, a lot of places up over 4, even some measurable precip and some nice amounts there across some of the higher terrain of the Sierra Nevada, even out over the valley areas as well. So hopefully that is beneficial for mainly everybody, except for some areas that might still be dealing with some flooding concerns from all this heavy precipitation. And this is ongoing right now. Look at some of the huge amounts across the higher terrain, probably not fully capturing the extent of the heavy precipitation there. If you click on that one, look at Old Man Mountain up over 9 inches, and probably additional rounds as we go through the day today. Oxnard is down here, big amounts also. And if we go down towards the Los Angeles Metro, you can kind of see that sharp cutoff, some pretty impressive amounts, Inglewood and off towards Redondo Beach up over 1.5 inches. Lesser amounts as you go to the right of that here, but you can still see some areas up over 1 inch. But there could be additional precip coming in here over the next day or two, and some wraparound moisture maybe with that as well. San Diego, we have the potential for a couple rounds of thunderstorms and heavy rain coming in as we go through the nighttime hours and on into tomorrow morning as well. I'll share the weather model maps on that here in a moment. Starting now, here's the high resolution rapid refresh. And as we scroll through the day today, now we're looking at about 11 a.m. today. And you can kind of see the additional precip coming for places like Oxnard, maybe Santa Barbara, depending on exactly where the heaviest bands of precip set up. So we move through the nighttime hours tonight and into tomorrow morning. You can see some of that trying to get towards San Diego. Better amounts probably across a lot of the higher terrain, but you can still see some heavy rain falling across maybe some of the Los Angeles metro, especially northern portions. And look at the desert areas, really getting some interesting precip amounts here. Look at the higher terrain getting up over 2-3 inches of precip there. Western Arizona under the gun. This is all the way out towards Saturday, very early morning. You can see Bullhead City 1 inch, but some of these locally higher amounts are up over 3 inches for some of the desert areas, and big amounts coming across a lot of Arizona as well. Now, this is the NAM 3KM. If I put it into motion, you can kind of see the hint at some of the heavier precip coming for San Diego. If I scroll back and forth here, you notice at the bottom there, you can see San Diego's precipitation totals increase. Bigger amounts probably across the higher terrain, and then the desert areas getting in the action as well. So you can see some very high local amounts in there as well, up over 3 inches. So you guys got to get the picture of what's going on here. Now, this is a wider view of things. Here's California, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico here. There's our low pressure system. This is the National Blended Models total precipitation, just kind of showing you the agreement we have with the position of the storm. And then eventually, as we go on into late tonight into tomorrow morning, San Diego year-round may be coming here in some of the higher terrain. You can see this very wide swath here of heavy precipitation for much of Arizona, and again, locally higher amounts embedded within. Now, taking a look at the National Weather Service Phoenix here, you can see the big amounts incoming here. There's flooding potential with this as well. Thunderstorms possible. And then as we look off into Albuquerque, New Mexico, also they're talking about the storm system as well. This should be very beneficial here, and maybe some higher terrain snowfall as well across New Mexico. Now, if I can click off of that one, taking a look at the wider view of things here, there is Japan, here's Alaska, there's Hawaii, and there's California. There's our storm system currently, our strong subtropical jet stream here. We're looking at 39,000 feet. Again, put that into motion, and we are going to get a break for a few days here, maybe a Christmas Eve system moving through Northern California, but then the European is showing some pretty interesting storms moving into the state of California. You can see that troughing reaching down, potentially even down towards Southern California as well, and that's what we'll be watching over the next few days, but we're going to go over that in a little bit more detail, starting with this one. This is yesterday afternoon's European. There's our storm currently. There's the Hawaiian Islands. As we go through the day today, on in through the afternoon hours coming up here, you can see that precipitation continuing for some of Southern California all the way into tomorrow morning. So don't let your guard down just yet. Desert areas, some interesting precipitation totals up over 2 inches. You got to watch for flooding, flash flooding potential there, and then a wide swath, a heavy precip for Arizona, and then eventually some beneficial rain to New Mexico. Then we look off into a Christmas evening. You see that precip just kind of clipping Northern California. Very strong storm coming across the Gulf of Alaska, pointing an atmospheric river potentially into the Pacific Northwest, which does clip portions of California. And another very strong storm off the coastline of British Columbia and Washington. Look at some of these lows out here, 967, 972. Storm train is going to be rolling here, and it throws a pretty strong frontal system down across Central California. And then look at this powerful storm as we go on in through about December 29th into the 30th time frame here. Still a ways out for some of these systems here, and we are going to get a break in the meantime here, but definitely we have active weather potential as we go on in through the end of December. Here's the GFS. So there's the current storm, and this is last night's run, by the way. So this is looking at Friday morning here. You can see the position of this storm, and again, Southern California could still be getting some additional precipitation, heavy at times, rolls across the desert area, and then on into Saturday morning, you can see this pushes off to the east, still impacting Arizona, New Mexico, some of Colorado here as well. Then we get that break, and the GFS painting a different picture. Initially, the GFS was showing a more active period yesterday, but it's backed off on that a little bit. You can see that frontal system roll through here. That's not a bad frontal system, maybe bringing some mountain snow with it as well as we go through the extended period, and then additional frontal system potentially impacting California, but they don't dive quite as far south as what the European was showing here. But it does show the active storms out here, so we'll just go ahead and break that down day at a time. So there is some model disagreement on just how much of the storm train California is going to get. Here's the 6 to 10 day precipitation all the way through December 30th, just kind of keeping that above average there because of that storm track pointed at the west coast. And this goes through January 3rd as well. So yeah, we'll see how that trends. Also, I wanted to pay a little bit of attention to some of the high tide outlooks here. You can see as we go through the later portion of December, we got some, some high tides out there, and we've got some wave action coming towards the coastline here as well. So it's worth keeping in the back of your mind and taking a look at that wave action here. This is that current storm. And then as that storm train really gets ripping here and we develop these powerful lows, you can see some of this big wave activity move towards the California coastline. And we go out towards the December 27th time frame here. We could be getting some interesting, high tide activity with the big waves. Can really cause some coastal flooding issues here. As you can see, this wave action really rolling across the Pacific Ocean there. This is significant wave height. Now, taking a look at some of that tide activity here, this is something fun you can look at. If you want to look at the NOAA tide and currents here, you can look at a North Spit, California, for example, and we've got those big tides rolling around out there. So if we get some big wave action that coincides with those tides, you can get that coastal flooding issue. But yeah, interesting storm. I mean, what amazing precipitation amounts just showing up, and we are not done yet. And this thing is probably going to pack a few more surprises, because if you're underneath any of these bands of heavy precipitation, things can really flood quite quickly. The precipitation amounts are quite intense. As we mentioned, Oxnard over 3 inches in 1 hour, and some of that activity, as you can see, still firing up. You can see the convection off the coastline here, and this is coming northbound. So Santa Barbara, Ventura County areas, mainly west of Los Angeles, still another round most likely incoming here, and then potential for some heavy precip again across maybe Los Angeles Metro, San Diego, as we go on in through tomorrow morning. As this continues to pivot east on in through Friday, some big amounts across the desert areas, then eventually Arizona. As we go through the day Saturday, this will finally be kicking off to the east, and then we'll be able to focus all our attention on the storm train, likely coming towards the end of December, somewhere pointed at the Pacific Northwest, and then potentially California also at times. So anyway, hope you guys are liking these videos. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.